Over the weekend, I was on the podcast Morning Coffee. I've listened to Brooke's show for a long time, and I've always loved it. And this is the second time that she's asked me to be on her show. But there's one thing that I've always noticed about Brooke. She never talks about herself. Now, if you're in the podcast game, you know that that's extremely uncommon. Oftentimes, you will see podcast hosts bring guests onto the show, and they kind of still talk about themselves a lot more than the other person on the show. The guest. Every time I've ever watched her show or listened to the show, I've noticed how she makes the guest feel at home. She makes the guest feel like the show is actually all about them. So why doesn't she talk about herself? I mean, she's got a lot of stuff going on. She's an author. She has a podcast. She's a content creator. She's been on a speaking tour, but she doesn't talk about that. So I thought, how about this time when I'm on the show, we make the podcast about her, and this is what happened. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Morning Coffee. My name is Lenny Hunt, and this is Morning Coffee. Today, we've got Brooke Carlock on the show with us, and I tell you what, I'm excited about this. Brooke Carlock has written a book. She's a published author. She also has her own podcast, which is very, very successful on many different platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, you name it. She's on all of them. She's an inspiration to me because right now she's currently traveling the nation doing several different conferences and speaking with people, talking about her book. She is totally cool. I know that you'll love her. I'm super duper excited. Ladies and gentlemen, raise your coffee to Brooke Carlock. There you go.
Oh my God, that's
there
so
you go.
weird.
How are you doing, Brooke? How are you doing today?
Well, I'm blushing right now because one, that was better than my intro, and two, yeah, I'm not good with the.
What?
I don't know. I'm bad with the self-promo, so I appreciate it.
This is going to be great. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It is. Okay. All right.
Okay. Now, before the show started, you had
really impressive. It was a very impressive intro.
Okay. I'm doing I'm continuing the intro. Okay. So,
okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now, before the show started, Brooke, you had said that you think you may have COVID at this time. What's going on? What kind of symptoms do you got?
Well, so like I said, I don't know if it's COVID. I'm actually going to see if I can have one of my sons go and grab me a test and drop it off here, so I don't have to go out in public just in case. But yeah, like I was saying, I was just kind of feeling icky. And then 2 days ago, I was on the sofa all day feeling nauseous, couldn't get up. I thought it was something I ate, but then the next day I ended up taking my temperature and I had a fever, which is really unusual for me. And then I started getting like really bad aches and pains again. It was kind of like on the sofa all day again.
Oh, horrible.
Haven't been sleeping well. Yeah. So and I still have a fever this morning. So I don't know if it's COVID, but I'm hoping it's not, but luckily I don't have too much going on for the next week if it is. But yeah,
in today's world, that sounds like it could be. Definitely could be.
Yeah, I've heard that it's going around a lot, but there's like a new strain that's going around. But
yeah, there is.
Honestly, with the traveling I've been doing, I suppose it's entirely possible that it could be that. But
oh, easily. Well, you've been going to conferences and standing up in front of people and teaching and stuff like that. Tell me how that's been. Has that been a good thing for you? Been a good gig?
It has been amazing. I absolutely love it. This summer is the first time that I've ever done anything like that. I've been a teacher for 23 years. And I think it just like the teaching and the speaking, I think I'm lucky that way because it comes pretty natural.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I get it.
I think it amazes a lot of people because I talk all the time about how I'm an introvert and I truly am introverted. Like I'm bad at small talk. Even this, like I'm used to it now, but there was a time when it used to be really awkward for me. And
why do you think that is? Why do you think it's different to sit in front of a camera and talk? Because I've seen you have a lot of content on YouTube. TikTok. I mean, you're all over the place. So why do you think it's easier to talk into a camera about, I mean, some heavy stuff?
Yeah.
But what's the difference?
I think that it's just, well, one, there's nobody else here. It's just me. And the social media stuff that I do in the videos, the YouTube, is kind of like education. So it's sort of like teaching a lesson. And I even do some of my lessons like this, where I like record myself doing the lesson, especially if I'm feeling sick. That's a teacher tip. You can record yourself and just like have the students watch it throughout the day instead of having to like do the same thing, 6 times in a day and be exhausted. But yeah, I think that's why it's kind of that teaching thing. And because there's no one else here, I don't have to feel self-conscious about it. Like I can have the awkward pauses and no one's going to see them. So it's not that bad. But it's the same thing, like I'm totally fine in a room full of people. Like I could talk on a stage to a crowd of tons of people and be totally comfortable. And at this point, I don't even really get that nervous about it anymore. But yeah, put me in a room in a social situation and I'm dying to leave the whole time.
Now, Brooke, I have a ton of questions all about that. But the thing is, I know that our viewers do as well. I don't have access to show questions up or anything, comments or whatnot, or anything that talks about how awesome I'm doing right now as a host. So if anybody makes any kind of comments, you need to be in charge of that. Okay, because I don't have access to that. Okay.
Right now, we just have Sue saying good morning. Happy to be here with you. So hi, Sue. Thank you for being with us.
Yes, Sue is wonderful. She's an excellent one.
I will watch, and if any comments or questions pop up, I will throw them on the screen for you.
So while we're going, I'm just going to keep asking Brooke a couple questions about her speaking and her book and stuff like that. Probably her COVID again. Absolutely, probably her COVID again. Okay. I don't want to get it. I don't want to get it. Come on.
I'll reach through the interwebs.
If you have any questions for Brooke as well, please do it. Throw it out there and we'll attack it.
Oh, and Sue also says you're doing awesome, Lenny.
That's right.
Sue, I agree. He's doing an awesome job. Right. He doesn't know this, but this is actually an interview for a co-host position.
This is an audition.
Yeah, this is your audition.
All right. I will afterwards. I will contact my manager and let her know that this was an audition. We need to do some contract negotiation. Now, one thing I know that you've been doing when you've gone around to the different conferences is you've been able to have a table. You've been able to talk about your book away from actually teaching and being up on stage. You've been able to sit down and actually talk about your book, your process through grief, about Libby and how everything has worked for you so far. Can you tell me a little bit about the book that you wrote?
Sure. So it is called Grief Sucks, But Your Life Doesn't Have to. And and it was basically born of a couple different things. After I first lost my daughter, Libby, who was 10 and died in a car accident, my viewers already know that, but in case anyone is new here, she died in a car accident when she was 10. And my, at the time, 18-year-old son was driving the car. And I just felt like my life was over at that point. Like I didn't think I was going to be able to go on. And when I started looking for resources for myself, because I'm a huge nerd, I am a reader, I'm a researcher. So my first instinct, I'm a nerd. I am a huge nerd. I am a history nerd. I love to read. I'm just a big nerd. I love, give me Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, and I'm a nerd. and I proudly admit that. Anyway, so because I'm a nerd, I just went right into like research and reading and got all of the grief books and, everyone online that I could find. And I just wasn't super happy with what I found. One big thing for me, I am not a religious person. So a majority, I'm sure you've looked around, like a majority of the stuff is religious based. And it's not that I have anything against that. It just didn't resonate because for a lot of people that talk about grief and a lot of books about grief, like the main focus. And since I couldn't find help in that way, I was looking for resources that were more secular. And I had trouble finding that. The second thing was I had people asking me how I was doing all the time. And I know people are well-meaning and it's amazing. And I'm so grateful that I had so many people to check on me. But again, as an introvert, like having to try to tell people in a short checkup conversation how I was feeling. I mean, I'm sure you understand it.
Oh,
you
my
can't,
goodness. Yeah.
you can't just summarize
just
it.
say, how you doing? Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's like, how do you explain that to someone? So I started a blog. I've been a writer my entire life since I was a little kid. And then since I've been an adult, I've been a freelance writer.
Sure.
And written for magazines and things like that. And so writing was just my way of coping. And the blog became a way to say to people, like, if you want to know how I'm doing, here, I have a blog. And in my blog, I was just like brutally honest with what was happening in my life. And it was meant for just me to tell people this is how I'm doing. And then I found that people were really responding to it that I didn't know. People from different countries, people, across the US.
No,
and people were
reaching out.
Which I think is kind of like what you experienced on TikTok as well. And you can talk about that in a second, but it was good. This is supposed to be
my show. You can't tell me when I get to talk about something.
But I'm saying, like you get it. Like people were just like, thank you for being honest. And it was just nice to hear, instead of like the platitudes and whatever, like, this is how much it sucks. But then the other thing that I noticed was when I joined like Facebook groups and things like that, and even when I went to some support groups around my area, they were not, they really did not give me any hope. There were people who were so far out in their grief journeys that were still like crying all the time and attending these support meetings. And at the time, I was just like, oh my God, like, is this what my life is going to be? And that was terrifying.
Absolutely.
So with my book, getting back full circle here, my book came out of a million people saying, you should write a book. And having my blog and saying, like, you should turn the blog into a book. And then just wanting to create a resource for people that I wish I would have had when I first lost my daughter. So that's how I got into the book. What the book is about is, just very quickly, it is a mix of telling my own story and how I dealt with things. And then the other big component of it is I hate calling it this, but it's like a system that I devised.
That's fair. No, that's absolutely fair. Absolutely fair. Yeah.
I hate saying it. And that's part of the reason that I a lot of times don't even mention it if I'm talking to people about it, is because we both know that grief cannot be managed with any sort of system. Like I have a program. Like I have a program to get you through your grief.
A hierarchy of how to make it happen and do this. There's not a 12-step program.
Exactly.
There are ideas, right? And there are things you can do, but it doesn't mean you're going to wake up one day and it's gone.
Exactly. No, yes.
Exactly. I agree completely. I agree.
So it's called the trust system, but like I said, it can be done in any order. It's not like a specific program. It's just, I came up with it's my catchy way to remember what the different parts are that I think people need to work through in their grief. So do you want to hear what the trust stands for?
Yeah. I mean, if you're willing to share the non-program that you have, the non-step steps, then
it's
absolutely.
Bizarre talking about myself, because I feel like I'm just rambling. But
no, I mean, you are, but this is wonderful. This is great.
T. Okay, so T in trust. T is for tell your truths, and it's all about figuring out exactly where you are right now. And then also figuring out about experiences with grief that you've had in the past and how those experiences have shaped how you deal with your current grief. And it's also about telling your story. One of my favorite parts of the book, and a part that a lot of people say resonates with them, is that I talk about how you feel like you're annoying people like it's Groundhog Day because you just keep telling them over and over what happened.
Yep,
but how important that is, because for most people, it's like you have to tell that story over and over again. And I think in the book, the line is something like, it's a story, it's a story, it's a story. And then boom, it's like, holy shit, my person really died. Like it just sinks in, like you're on autopilot just trying to survive, and you're just telling the story to so many people. And then there's that one point where it's like, it sinks in. And
I would agree.
Then everything changes. And so, yeah, that's the T.
Okay,
the
so
R,
know your truth, or speak.
tell your truth.
Tell your
T,
truth. Okay.
T, tell your truth. Okay. R is for reach out. That's all about finding a support system, which was probably the hardest part for me to write as an introvert. But it's a very realistic, suggestions for how to find a support system while you're grieving. The U is understanding emotions. That is a big chapter because it goes through all of the common emotions and explains like how normal they all are, even though they don't feel normal at all. S is search for meaning. And that's all about, trying to find meaning, not necessarily finding meaning, because there's no, like for me, there's no reason our kids die. I hate it when people say there was a reason for something happening, but it's making meaning by connecting, with your lost loved ones and trying to figure out how to go on having some sort of meaning to your life. And that kind of all starts with most people feeling like there is no reason to go on. And it's kind of finding that reason to go on after that. And then the last T is transform your future, which is all about things that you can do moving forward once you understand all the other stuff, just to kind of help you deal with your grief. And that is, there's all kinds of tools and stuff in the book about, there's one called a healthy living library, where I offer people like a huge list of different things that you can do that are healthy to deal with emotions and panic attacks and all that kind of stuff. And just kind of looking forward. It's the your life doesn't have to suck part, how to look forward in life and have it be full of a little bit of hope instead of feeling like the rest of your life is going to be terrible.
Man alive. That's awesome. That is great. So tell me, when you've been able to talk about the book, when people would come by and you'd actually get to explain it, actually, I'll ask the question, but while I'm asking the question, you need to hold up the book, because I saw it in the very corner. I saw it in the very corner of the screen, and then you put it away super fast. Okay. No, go ahead.
It's embarrassing that I actually had it out here. But I do keep it out when I was doing some content stuff before this, and I pull quotes out and stuff for like social media posts. So yeah, embarrassingly enough, it is sitting right here.
That's funny. No, I have mine over here too. It's no big deal. It's just what it is. It's what it is. As an author, and it's something that you're proud of, right? You want to see it because then it inspires more ideas in your brain to start the next one, right? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, so when you have your book,
yes,
go ahead. Okay, there you go. Beautiful. And you are standing at the table, and people are coming and asking about it and stuff like that, and you get to talk about it and talk about your quote unquote not a program. Okay,
you're right.
How's that feel? How'd that feel? Because I know you love this. This was a passion project for you.
Yes. It was, and I love that it helps people, I love it when people buy the books, but
well, of course,
weirdly, that is the point, is to sell the books if I can, but honestly, my favorite conversations are from people who stop by because they've read the book and they want to tell me how helpful they think it is. So I love, those are my favorite conversations, because it's like reading the reviews on Amazon. Like I get all verklempt when I read those interviews, because that's what it's about. It's about.
But it's not an ego thing. I mean, not by any means. It's not
no,
an ego
no. It is people saying that it helped them get through the most difficult time in their life. And
it's a thing. It's in the heart.
Yeah. And it's not just people who have lost a child. It is people with all kinds of grief. And I have a bunch of people who watch my YouTube channel that are just depressed and tell me that my videos and the suggestions that I give are helping them with their depression, even though it's not necessarily grief related, that a lot of the things that I talk about can kind of coexist in the mental health world.
Oh, absolutely.
With just having, with just improving your mental health. So I love that as well. But I love it. I think I posted the other day how the thing I noticed at grief conferences, because like I said, this is my first summer of speaking at grief conferences, is just how you skip right over the small talk. And you're just in. Because the conferences that I've been at are typically like bereaved parents or sibling, they're lost conferences. So everyone's lost someone. So the conversations just sort of skip right to, well, who did you lose? Like, when did your person die and what happened and how old were they? And you can kind of skip over all of the, stuff that doesn't matter and get right to the heart of why everyone's there. And everyone is just willing to share their own story. And it's kind of having that camaraderie with people that you otherwise wouldn't have had the chance to meet. And you just automatically have something in common. You kind of, it's like, yeah, I get it. I get these people, because it's the defining thing.
Yeah. Do you think that's why the uncomfortable space in the very beginning is gone completely? Because you're in the same spot. They don't have to do that. Hey, Brooke, how you doing today? There's not that. Because
most of them are like, what's your name? Where are you from? Where are you driving here from or flying from? And no, it's just it's right over that to like, oh, you wrote a book. Who died? So yeah.
Okay, but it's not in an offensive way. It's not at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. Most people are shocked that my loss was not that long ago. That's probably one of the biggest comments that I get as well, is that like, you wrote a book already. And it's a little over 2.5 years now. Right. So a lot of people are surprised like that I could function enough to write a book at this point. And I just have to explain to people, like, it's not a matter of functioning. Like, it's my coping mechanism. Like, this is just what I do. It's my writing is my thing. So yeah. Okay.
Are there any? Okay, good. I was excited. What do we got?
Right. So we had Sue saying you were doing awesome. Toinette, good morning, Toinette. She's one of my longtime viewers. Good morning, guys. Excited for your new book, Brooke. How's it going? Do you have any timelines yet? Oh, okay. So what she's talking about is totally unrelated to what we were talking about.
That's okay.
So I'm going to take a side detour here. So what Toinette is talking about is I just finished writing my second book, which is completely unrelated to the first book. And it is a historical fiction middle grade novel called Libby's Frontier. And my daughter, Libby.
What do you mean by middle grade?
Middle grade is like for like middle school. It's like for upper elementary to like maybe 9th grade, like that age group.
Got it.
So it's like family friendly. It's not like into the young adult, category where, things are happening that some people might not want to read about. It's just like a very wholesome thing.
But it's historical based, right? I mean, not necessarily.
Like I said, I'm a history nerd. Total history nerd.
Right. It's in the era, not necessarily.
And
good. That's fun.
Libby was also a history nerd, like her mama. And we were both obsessed with the musical Hamilton. Right. So she knew all about the American Revolution and everything. And so the book, Libby's Frontier, takes place in I was trying to think of a frontier because our other thing was also watching Little House on the Prairie together. So I wanted to make something that was like Little House on the Prairie-esque because that was also her favorite book series.
Oh my goodness.
And so I was trying to kind of make a series where it was like Little House on the Prairie, except she was the main character. But then I wanted to bring in the American Revolution so that every now and then I could have Hamilton characters pop in with little like cameos. So I set it in the frontier of New York in the Mohawk Valley during the war leading up to the American Revolution. So yeah, I just finished the first one, and that one is out with beta readers right now. So to answer your questions, Juanette, that it's going really well. I love the book. Wonderful. I'm excited about it. I love writing it. It is so much fun.
Well, and with Libby as the main character, come on.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It's funny because I had people say my brother is notorious for questioning me about grief stuff. But so my brother was like, why does it have to be all about Libby? Can't you just let it go already? Like, you're just hanging on. I'm like, okay, one, she was my daughter. I'm not like letting go. Yeah.
You go sit over here. I'm going to do my thing.
Yeah. And I'm like, you have no idea. Like it doesn't make me sad writing them. Like I love writing them. I love coming up with the story and the dialogue, and I just love everything about it. I love the history of it. I love that it's something that we shared. It's not a sad thing for me at all.
Not at all. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping it will become a series. I'm getting ready to start the second one right now. I have like all the outline done for it. I'm going to try to pitch it I'm querying for a literary agent to see if I can find anyone who's interested in publishing it. So that is the status right now.
It's like extending a legacy is what it is.
Yeah,
It's creating memories, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. You know,
it is.
Though it's something that didn't happen, it's something that gets to sit in your brain and makes you smile.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's
and I think it's sharing.
Grief. That's a good.
It is good grief. It is sharing the best parts of her, because my daughter was a nerd like me, and she was an amazing, just the most beautiful kid you could imagine. And she actually had created for herself this days of the week calendar, and every day of the week she put a different character trait that she wanted to work on to be better, like to exhibit that character trait. So it was that
incredible. Monday 10 years old and she was doing that? That is beautiful.
And it was, Tuesday is productivity. I want to try to be productive today. I want to try to be optimistic on Wednesday. And yeah, she was an old soul, just beautiful.
I wish I had that. Man alive. I know, right? That is
So my plan for the book,
exciting, but frustrating too.
Right? Yes. I know. I'm telling you, she was amazing. But I wanted to carry that on. Like, I loved that about her. She had it hanging up in her room. And I'm like, that would be perfect if I could make 7 of these like middle school age books, and each one of them kind of focuses on one of those character traits and how you can be a better person, because that's who she was and what she did, and what a great lesson that is for kids,
Love it. I absolutely love it. That is, and you get to carry a story. You get to carry Libby. That is amazing. That is what an awesome way. No, I mean, think about it. You're not just writing a story. You're not, I mean, it's all clicking in my brain right now. I need to say all this to put it together. Okay.
Sure.
It's not just creating a story. It's not just giving her a legacy. I mean, these are things I was thinking right away, but on the same way, this is a wonderful way for you, specifically for you, to process your grief, right? Because I know it hasn't been very long. I mean, it hasn't been very long since Libby passed, but what a wonderful way to just keep her there, and keep her a part of your life, right? And it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
That is such a beautiful idea. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm excited about it. We'll see. So it's not a timeline, but because querying, if people aren't interested after, a while, then I'll probably just self-publish it. Like I did with the other ones, but we'll see. Fingers crossed. Maybe somebody will love it and they'll want to
love it. I love
publish
it. Beautiful.
Okay, so we have wonderful. Annie says, "Yay for nerds." That is definitely.
Annie is actually a teacher, like you. Okay, you're a former teacher, right? I mean, you're not like a teacher.
I'm still a teacher.
Are you still a teacher?
I teach 8th grade English.
Oh, okay. Very good.
It is my full-time job.
I was doing so good this whole time. Now I look dumb. Wonderful. Excellent. Well, that's great. That's so good.
Yeah.
What would you feel that you've learned the most from doing the conferences and going around from place to place and meeting the different people and hearing their stories? What would you feel that you've learned the most? Or maybe even something that just you hadn't really thought about, but it got you when you were there.
So I guess it would be just the many different ways that people deal with their grief. I mean, we already know it's not a linear process. Like we said, there's no set program.
No.
But going to the conferences, you really see how different things work for different people, which is why I think it's so important that we have all different kinds of grief support people out there. Because, like, as an example, when I was doing the author signing, they had usually they have a special area where the authors can set up tables and things like that. And, you meet the other people, you get to know who they are, and everyone's so different. You have the religious books, you have the books that are like the first person accounts of this is what happened to me. You have the self-help books trying to help people. You have like the more spiritual, mystical woo-woo kind of books. And they're it's funny because I realized that people that do that like the word woo-woo. there was a lady at the last conference that came over and she was like, "Oh, is your book woo-woo like mine?" And I'm like, "No, my book is the opposite of woo-woo." And then you have me, and I always feel kind of like the odd duck out, but I feel like it's so important to have the person that is like, grief sucks. Like I'm like, I will just flat out tell people, don't read my book if you don't like swearing, because there's a lot of swearing in my book, and it just is like brutally honest and real and raw. And it's kind of like your best friend giving you advice, but it's yeah. So I guess if that's what you're looking for, that's great. But I think that's what I've learned. There are things that happen at grief conferences that make me personally cringe. Like, I am not a...
No, I think I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen it too. Yes.
So the people standing up and singing and getting in big circles and whatever, that for me is like, oh, that's like my worst nightmare. But it really, really helps some people. And, I love that. That's why I think we need more people in the grief space, because everyone needs different things, and what might help you might not help another person. So that became very, very obvious. That's one of probably the biggest takeaways I have from the conferences. So
it's interesting to me that you said that everybody has a different way, right? That they, based upon introvert, extrovert, where they're at in their grief, they all have a different place, and how they express their grief, how they, how they talk about it, how they try to help others. I'm not going to name drop, okay, but one of the conferences that you spoke at, right? They have small chapters, I guess, is what it'd be, all around the nation and the world. I'm not going to name drop because I want to speak there next year, and I have something negative to say. I have something negative, so I'm not going to say anything because I want to be a part of their program. I know that sounds so weird. I know it sounds so weird, but I just thought about it. I thought about it when you were talking about the different ways. The first time I went to a group, right, to sit with people who'd also gone through or are going through grief, who'd lost their children. I became very uncomfortable because I felt like it was well, Lenny, it's horrible that that happened to you, but this is what happened to me. Right. And then,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, okay. And then someone else would step in and say, oh, it's horrible that that happened to you. And it's horrible that that happened to you, Lenny, but this is what happened to me. And I felt like it
Yeah.
was a, you know, like a my brother can bench press more than your brother
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah, you understand. Man alive, it drove me crazy. It absolutely drove
Yeah.
me crazy. And I ended up not going anymore. I did go back later and it was better, but then I did go a third time, and I'm talking spaced out
Yeah.
over a long amount of time. But every time it was different that I saw. Is that kind
It
of what
makes
you're
me feel
talking about? Just the
that
different phases that you see people at, even at these large conventions,
yeah.
right?
Well, the same group that you're talking about was actually the first in-group, in-person experience that I had as well.
Okay.
And I felt the same way. I went once and didn't go back
Yeah.
because I am not a group. I'm not a group person. Um, at least not in person. Online's a little different, but yeah, I and people are different. Some
Yeah.
things help different people. We have comments piling up, so give me one
Oh
second. I'm gonna
no. Oh no.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have comments piling up. So Paula
Okay.
says, "Morning, y'all. Good morning."
Morning, Paula.
Annie, I don't even know what this is about at this point because this was a while ago. But Annie said that resonates so much, Brooke. Thank you. I want to hear. So I'm glad you wanted to hear something. I probably rambled for too long about whatever that is. Exactly what I tell people. Yes, who knew there was a system? This is inspiring, Brooke. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. It's like I said, it's just kind of easy to remember, but I'm glad that that resonated because I always
Well,
worry when I say
it's
like
almost a tongue-in-cheek
the
kind of thing
system.
because
Yeah,
there are themes, that definitely work, but there's not a step-by-step. There's just not
yeah.
a step-by-step.
No, 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 no. Nothing is that way. Annie says I already want to read them all, so I think
There
that's
you
talking
go.
about the here. That's
I believe
awesome
that.
and smart for a 10-year-old. That was my libs. Yeah, she was
Yep.
awesome. Tina says me too. They sound fun. Brooke is my people. Teacher swearing, not woo woo. All right, yay, Annie. I'm gonna make a new BFF through this show.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, I told my people
Wonderful.
are the brutally honest, introverted, swearing
Sure. Hey,
people.
it's what it is.
But
I mean,
there's
people
someone
say
for
there's not a right
everyone.
way and wrong way to grieve, which I don't necessarily agree with. Of course, there's wrong ways to do with it. I
Well,
can't go
yes,
start robbing grocery stores,
right.
but um, but I do think writing a book works for you, right?
Yeah,
And that's going to be your thing. Content creation works for me, and that's
yep,
my thing, you know. And everybody becomes successful in different ways that they choose to express their grief, work
absolutely.
through and manage their grief. And I think that you found an amazing one that
Thank you.
is just going to grow your heart and your mind, and it's going to reach so many other people that are of that same vein where they love to read
Thank you.
books. They grew up on things like Little House on the Prairie, all this virtuous stuff. It's not going to be a heavy read. I mean, maybe a
No,
theme that'll be heavy, but it's not going to be a encyclopedia kind of
right.
kind of
Yeah.
read. It's going to be fun, and it's cow. I'm excited for that. I am.
Well,
I'm
thank
truly,
you.
truly
Thanks.
excited. I
I'm
am.
excited too. I'm a little nervous because all the agents that I've looked at, like so many of them, are just looking for like vampires and fairies,
No, that's still a thing.
mystical, magical, other realms, or stuff that's like brutally honest. Like, I don't know. Some of the stuff that's out is like almost hard to read. Like, I'd feel not that I'd feel uncomfortable reading it with my child, but just like I don't know. I still am of the like I would love to create books that parents could read out loud with their kids
I would agree.
and
I
enjoy
read
it.
I read to my boys when
Yeah,
you know, yeah. I read to my
yeah,
boys, and that was always a special.
Isn't it? I know it is. It is. And I would love to recreate that, give people books that they can
Give them that opportunity.
enjoy together with their kids and get something out of it. So, yeah.
Well, thank you
All
for
right.
joining us here on Morning Coffee with Lenny, special
And
guest Brooke Carlock.
Brooke, who just
Brooke,
rambled for so long on her own podcast.
As we're closing right now, tell everybody who is watching where they can find your book, where they can find all the content that you create, and everything. Give it all.
Everything. Oh my gosh. Okay.
30 seconds. Go. I'm counting.
The easiest answer is if you go to brookecarlock.org, Brooke with an E. You can find links to everything there. My book, the easiest way to get it is Amazon. And if you do read it, if you can leave a review, that is by far the biggest way to help any self-published author is by spreading the word and leaving a review, because it helps the algorithm. YouTube, my channel is Grief Sucks with Brooke Carlock.
Oh no, where did she go? I didn't shut it off. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. She had control over everything. I don't know. Can she come back? I don't know what to do. Okay, I think she's back. I think so. Are you there? Oh my gosh, I wet myself. I was freaking out. I had no idea what to do.
With my hands, and I bumped my.
It was like all of a sudden you're gone, and
yeah, different camera, and I think a different mic at this point, so I probably sound terrible. But anyway, Brooke, I'm so sorry about that.
I thought the 30 seconds was over, so you left.
No. I'll have to edit that out. Thank you to the people who hung around to see what happened there. Anyway, so yes, brookecarlock.org. Find me on YouTube, all the socials.
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing.
It's okay. Laugh away. Yeah, that was embarrassing. So, I'm a hand talker. That's what happens when you talk with your hands. Yeah, so that is where to find me. And I love speaking. So if anyone has any, organizations that want me to speak to their organizations, or if I've had people get my book for book clubs, and then I Zoom with the book club to discuss the book. I love doing stuff like that. So I am available. Someone wrote, so they're all like, what happened?
Exactly.
So, Annie says, I thought Lenny just took over the whole show.
No. Lenny wet his pants is what happened. Lenny wet his pants. All right. Well, thank you for coming today, Brooke. You are very special to me. I love our relationship. I think you're just a beautiful creator. I love what it is that you're doing. I can see how it ministers to your soul. And thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us.
Right back at you. And
cut. We're done. Okay, that was the end of Lenny's show. As you can see, Brooke is pretty cool, so I've included all of her links down below. If you like what you saw, give her a follow. And you are always welcome to join us on the Grief 101 podcast. Grief 101 podcast? I don't have a podcast.